Here now is Lisa Bell and Candace Campos with Florida Foodie.
Hello and welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Lisa Bell, and today we have a very special guest for you.
Lisa, are you fangirling already?
I am fangirling.
Well, today's guest, of course, he owns several restaurants, including 2 in Orlando, a nonprofit. But we're also talking about he's served 2 Florida governors, President Obama, movie stars, and of course, a personal chef for Oprah Winfrey.
Hello, Chef Art Smith.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Did I get everything there?
Yeah, I think you did. I mean, when I hear that, I'm thinking, oh, that just says old. But I've been around a while now, and I always say it's horrible. They just know I won't poison them. It's been really fantastic considering I come from this very rural, probably rural part of the whole state of Florida, but it's charming.
Yeah, you are a Florida native.
Yeah.
You're from Jasper, Florida, which is
seventh generation.
Florida. Okay.
And I'm the only family member on my father's side that's actually left the state, and so and I'm the only chef among all the police officers and people in the prison system, etc. My gorgeous mother was a tax collector. Someone said your mother was a tax collector. I said she was gorgeous and she had no problem asking you for your taxes.
That's funny.
But they were lovely people. But what's interesting about, 1, they were great storytellers. 2, they could really cook, and they all believed in the power of food. You feed them, they come. You keep feeding them, they stay. You feed them a lot, you get what you want.
Yeah, they're never
like
going to leave.
Yeah.
So you started out, your love of cooking started out at home with your family, and then it progressed right here in Florida.
It did.
Yeah.
I went to a little junior college. I started doing little parties there, and because I was just trying to get out of that school, North Florida, and then I wanted to go to FSU because they had this restaurant school, but it was not a chef school. I discovered something called an internship. And so it was like a free pass out of school.
Those are important, yeah.
And so I landed, I feel like I'm a better actor than I realize, but I put on this kind of like, I'm from a small little town, and I want the opportunity, and I landed this internship at the famed Greenbrier Resort, which is the doyen of old southern resorts in this part of the world. It's been the home of presidents and all different kinds of people, and I was there. And then I came back, and I was still flunking out of school, but I wanted to go away again. And then Disney came a-calling, and that was a harder sell. It took me, I remember it being 3 or 4 auditions before I got it. And when I got it, I was like, so I got it, and they're like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to bake cake.
Okay.
So they were like, you don't want to work in the Magic Kingdom? I said, I love the Magic Kingdom, but I want to bake cake. So I baked cake. And
this was for a cooking internship at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and there were all these culinary students, because remember, I'm at FSU, which only has a hospitality management program.
Okay.
I wanted to be a chef. You don't go to FSU to be a chef. You go to So I went there, and there were all these culinary students. They all thought they were a little fabulous. And so the chef of the former Empress Lily through this baking contest. I entered it, and I beat him.
Yes.
And so I was like, I don't have to have a culinary education to beat other chefs.
That's right.
So I go back to school, still not doing great. And the dean says, Art, you're a very nice guy. You're a good cook, but you're a terrible student. I said, the governor needs some help. I said, I want you to go over there and help him out.
No way.
So I went over there. And they said, what you doing here? I said, I'm going to help you out. And I said, just let me do my little thing. I had a lot of confidence. But what I did, honey, I pulled a Martha. I put it in all the beautiful silver that came off the USS Florida, the battleship, and all this stuff, and I just did it up. And they're like, oh, you can make it pretty. I said, exactly, that's what I do. And so, I had to have a little confidence to it. But I would go over there, here's that little boy, he's going to come make it pretty. We'll make the food, you make it pretty. And they have some beautiful like smoked amberjack or mullet type which dip, and I figured fix it all up. The thing was that really Adele Graham was all big about what was Florida. Mm-hmm. And what's great about the festival at Disney Springs, Taste of Florida, it's all about that. I mean, I have to give Adele Graham a lot of credit because she was the first to really push that. And where she got that from, my dear, was, because of their connections to Washington and being at the White House all the time, she said, this is my White House, and I'm going to make it special. And I want my guests when they come here to feel like they are in Florida. She was a force to be reckoned with.
Adele Graham, the wife of Bob Graham.
Right, First Lady, yeah.
Yes.
And so she made a big impression on me, and so doing that, and then that, I give her a lot of credit, and thank you, Ms. Graham. But one thing that else happened is after that, they came to me because they liked what I did, and they said, and this is a great lesson I learned. Whatever you do, you need to know who your audience is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they go, Art, how are you? I'm fine. They said, we have a special guest.
Okay.
And the first question I asked, who is the guest?
Mm-hmm.
Mikhail Baryshnikov. And this is the American Ballet. And I said, okay, I could do that. I said, we want a dessert party buffet for all the people that are going to come to the mansion. No problem. Got that down, can do it, boom. And then we need you to cook for Mr. Baryshnikov, the American Ballet, in the back. Boom, I got that down too. And so I pulled Julia Child out, poof.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm at a Coco Man, and et cetera, because it was the wintertime and all the different stuff. Well, the next thing was, they were such a success, can you be our chef? I said, I think I have time for that. And boom, I became the chef. I have to tell you, it was not the highest paying job in my life, but what it did do. Yeah. Once you work for a head of state, you have something called security clearance. Ooh. So let's fast track. I leave there, I go work on yachts, I travel the world, blah, blah, blah. I get on a fancy train, I get to Chicago. Okay, you see where we're going?
Okay.
And I start like doing little parties and stuff. I cook parties. I start teaching at Williams-Sonoma, I do parties. A very special guest came to Chicago. And they could not find a chef to cook for her. And you know why?
Why?
Because Scotland Yard would not approve any of the chefs because they didn't have the security clearance. And you know who that was?
I'm assuming the Queen.
Princess Diana.
Oh,
wow.
man.
And so I cooked for Princess Diana.
Know your audience.
I was about to say.
She had rack of lamb, and I remember, because you're not supposed to approach them, she was like there, and I bowed to her, and she smiled, and I said, thank you. And she was a beautiful turquoise dress. I still remember her standing there. She was radiant. And so, if I hadn't worked for the Grahams, and I hadn't worked at the Florida Governor's Mansion, I wouldn't have the security clearance, and I wouldn't have been able to cook for her.
My.
I love that.
After the break, Florida Foodie gets the full story on how a small-town cook becomes the personal chef for A-list celebrities, including the one and only Oprah Winfrey. More from Chef Art Smith next. You're back with Florida Foodie and celebrity chef Art Smith, a 7th-generation Floridian from a small town who cooked his way to the top, eventually preparing meals for TV stars, presidents, and even royalty.
One thing I kept, again, in mind from all these experiences was never forget who you are. Be your authentic self. Okay, I'm a Southern chef, so I'm going to do Southern food. The other great person that really emphasized that to me was Oprah Winfrey.
Well, yeah, so how did that come about?
Honey, I was doing a party. I had made this casserole. All that is just Southern, casserole. And, and it was just, I put black-eyed peas and I did game, blah, 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 blah.
Speaking of knowing your audience, did you know she was going to be there?
She wasn't there. Was someone there better?
Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
Because when I tell you this, you're going to know what I'm telling you.
The story,
okay,
Lisa.
so I'm serving this, and everyone says, "Oh, thank you," serving it, and then this person says, "I know someone that would love you," and I'm thinking to myself, "Who don't love a chef, right?"
Yeah, right.
So he goes away from the table, and this person comes up to me and says, "Do you know who that was?" I said, "No."
Who was it?
He says, "That's Andre Walker. That's Oprah Winfrey's hairdresser." In the middle of the party, I checked my answer machine. "Can you come to Harpo Studios and make lunch?" I'm like, got me on the plane, got me to Chicago. I stayed up all night. Then I made little tiny key lime tarts. Honey, I did it up.
So where are you doing this? At Harpo Studios?
No, I'm
Okay.
doing it in my apartment with no car.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
so I borrowed the neighbor's station wagon to put the food in. I drive to Harpo Studios. I walk in with the food,
Yeah.
nicely put. I walk through the door, through the security. I set it out in her special little eating area, and her lady in waiting says, "That'll be fine," or "Okay, thank you, bye." I'm like,
That's it.
"Where's the queen?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that went on for 3 months.
What?
Talk about a 3-month audition.
Yeah.
So I get called in. I said, "Lord Jesus, what have I done? I poisoned her." And so I walk in, and they said she wants to see me and everything. And so I walk in. She's sitting in her makeup chair. You know what it's like. You know, right after a show, you're just sitting there.
No, we don't know what it's
Yeah,
like.
I'm like,
She
tell
goes-
us I
she
know
goes like-
just what it's
she
like to
goes
be
like-
Oprah.
She goes like, "Do you know a chef?" And I'm like, "In fact, I do."
Do I know a chef?
In
Yeah.
fact, I do.
Yeah.
I said, "Me." She goes, "You're too busy." I said, "I'm never too busy for the queen." She said, "Okay, if you think you want to do this." I'm like, "Lord Jesus, God, the
What
queen."
did I just sign up
She's just
for?
telling me.
Yeah.
I said, "Thank you." I run out of the dressing room, called my mother. I said, "Mama, Oprah's just offered me a job." "Oh, that's so wonderful. Are you eating properly?" I'm like, "Mother, did you hear what I said?" But I'm like, "Mother, if I didn't eat properly, I'm not going to blow away. Okay, I can miss a meal." So, God bless her. She first puts me on as a chef to the book club. Remember when they used to have the book club?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
It was me in the back, cooking.
Okay.
On one of those book clubs, you'd had to watch all of them.
This would have had to be like the early 90s?
It was early. It was like, yeah. And one of the book clubs, what she did was, one thing she never did is like when she started on the roll with the tape, she'd not stop tape because she felt she'd lose all her energy, you know?
Yes.
So she said, "Stop tape." I'm like,
Uh-oh.
okay. In that
Yeah.
time, I had made these souffles, and they were like, and I'm like, "Oh God, Jesus, Joseph, she stopped taping, they're gonna fall." And I'm like, because I could just envision these beautiful souffles come
Black
parading in.
soufflés.
She goes, "Get the chef." And I'm like, "Oh God."
Oh,
So I
no.
walk out there with the souffle, and I put it in front of her, and she said, "So beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, I just have to introduce you to my chef, Art Smith." Boom! The whole world who knew I was.
Wow. That was it.
That was it.
That was the moment.
All right, I'm going to pivot you
Life
fast.
changing.
So if you want to feel like you're eating like Oprah, Princess Diana, the Obamas, you can here in Florida.
The whole reason Homecoming came to be, and having millennial partners come in and make it a reality.
Which is such a perfect name now that you've told us, more of your story.
Yeah, I was just
Well,
about to say
honey,
that. Yeah.
Because for some people, they might not be like, why'd they name their restaurant
Homecoming.
that?
Well,
Yeah.
the thing about it is, and how it came to be was just as interesting, was an email to the big mice, to the biggest mice of all.
Okay.
And I said,
Is this Bob Iger?
I ain't telling.
Okay.
Anyways,
I see someone behind you nodding their head. Nodding their head, yes.
put it like this: there was some mouse with some big ears. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I started appearing at Epcot Food and Wine Festival, which is the greatest food and wine
Right.
festival in
That's
the world, hitting Epcot. And the great people at Disney Springs have wanted to create a festival because the people at Disney, they love entertaining people, and Disney Springs has become it's also a food mecca where
Yeah,
people
food
come to eat
experience, yeah.
and everything and et cetera. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, what happened? And during this conversation, I said basically I've eaten at every place at your wonderful place, and it's delicious, but you're missing something. And he said, I said, beyond the magical gates, there's a Florida that tastes good. And I'm not talking about sandy beaches and flamingos. I'm talking about dirt roads with oak trees and fried chicken and chicken and dumplings.
Fried chicken.
And key lime souffle.
And people love that. And I think that your guest deserved a taste of Florida. He said, "What does Florida taste like?" I said, "Invite me down and I'll show you." So I show up
God, you're so good at
in
that.
this little room.
So good at that.
This little room with these
Yeah.
people around the table. There were some chefs, etc. And I bring in a big hummingbird cake, and then I have my friends from Tallahassee bring props. I have to have props to tell the story.
Yeah.
And I start serving the cake, and I say, "Taste that. That's what my Florida tastes like. What does your Florida taste like?"
I want you to see it says hummingbird cake.
What is
I need to ask you about
Okay,
this.
I didn't invent it. I just made it famous.
Okay.
Hummingbird cake came from the Southern Bible, Southern Living Magazine. Okay, and
I know that.
it And what happened is that I was taught by a wonderful woman in Tallahassee, Food Glorious Food. You ever go there? It's wonderful. They make it. Traditionally, it's made with pecans and stuff. I don't put that in there. Mine's changed around quite a bit. And it's a banana pineapple cake and with cream cheese icing. And people love it. And, you know, I want to tell you something. Again, I don't forget where I come from. It was the 75th birthday cake for Dr. Maya Angelou.
Wow.
It was the 25th birthday cake for Lady Gaga. It was I think it was his 50th birthday for President Barack Obama.
So along with hummingbird cake, you also have fried chicken. Give us an idea of what people can expect at Homecoming.
Well, Homecoming, again, the whole idea was to create this Florida experience.
Yeah.
And with my talks and my stories, and you know what made fried chicken famous, right? It was Oprah's 50th birthday dinner.
Okay.
And
Which you hosted.
Which I did, and everybody. And when Oprah ate fried chicken, all of Hollywood ate fried chicken. And I did it a couple of years ago for the Oscars, and so it's when Lady Gaga won for Shallows. So
That's amazing.
No, because the thing about it is, this is the thing I should remember. The most simplistic thing of beauty, deliciousness, whatever it is always remembered. People don't remember all that complicated stuff.
Yeah.
The busier people are, the simpler they want their food to be.
That's true.
And I have served 5 presidents. Okay, I know and they tell me a lot by the way they eat. But I'm great to see with Disney and with Disney Springs, believing in the taste of Florida, believing in Homecoming, which I have to tell you, it's probably one of the most popular
It's
restaurants.
been there for 7 years.
Right,
Now, right?
we just celebrate 7 years. It's one of the most popular restaurants in the whole magical world out there, and because we have this fantastic team and Chef Douglas, all these great, wonderful people, and Chef Patrick, and the list goes on. I mean, I can't. I need a.
And there's a moonshine bar?
Yeah, because my great grandfather was a moonshiner, and you know, my grandmama was a boarding house operator, so she's hospitality. My great grandfather sold moonshine. I think he drank more than he sold, and so that's.
Are you a fan of moonshine?
I'm probably the most undrinkingest chef.
Okay.
You know what I like to do with it? I like to cook with it.
Cook with it,
Okay.
yeah.
We put it in cake and stuff like that, and you know, it's just
That apple pie moonshine
it's delicious.
is pretty good.
But in my home up north, I have these great lemons, and I do it and put it all in there. And honey, it is Southern limoncello.
Oh, man.
But you know, it's really wonderful, you know, to be in here, celebrate Florida, and also not just Florida. I celebrate it across the thing, and you know, you were saying like, what are you going to do next? And you'll love this.
Yeah.
This,
What are you going to do next?
Yes.
oh, you're going to love this. So now we're preparing for the Pope.
Oh my.
Yeah,
That's coming up?
that's where I'm going for.
No.
Yes,
That's next?
yes.
Get this. This is crazy.
Okay.
So when are
This
you
is
going to be back in
crazy.
Florida? 'Cause
And but it's not over yet. So I go prepare for the Pope. I do this stuff. I'm
Yes.
cooking for all the bishops of U.S. All the stuff, and then I fly to Sicily. My very dear friend Jamie Oliver has a friend down there who worked for him who has a wonderful place in the middle of Sicily. He has something called the Good Kitchen, and he's taught little kids how to cook in this little village, and they feed themselves and the elderly. And I think that's quite charming. So I'm going to go cook with the kids and the mamas, and we're going to do a big party, celebrate 2 years of his Good Kitchen on the square there in Italy. So I'm excited about that a lot.
Well, you have been pure pleasure here on
you.
Florida Foodie
So
today.
fun.
I want you to come back the next time you are in town.
Yeah, I have like 3,000 other more stories.
I know. Well, we want to hear them all.
You have to,
Yes.
you have to ask me the question that how I got chocolate pecan pie in Buckingham Palace.
That's going to be our first question
gotta
on our
I
next
did. I
interview.
said
Yes.
a whole bunch. They
Thank
need
you.
a little sweet over there. We got it there.
Well, thank you so much, Chef
Thank
Art
you.
Smith. We are so happy that you could join us today. Continue to do all of your great work, your philanthropy, your great cooking. One day we're going to hopefully be back here again soon,
Oh,
hearing more of
please.
your stories.
I'm always here. I'm always good for a little talk, okay?
Love it.
And, yeah, just don't have any vodka here. I'll be spilling the chicken.
Well, say hi to the Pope for us.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank
And
you.
Oprah.
And
Thank
Oprah.
you.
It really is a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Very
It's been a fun
lovely. I've
time.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
If you like this episode of Florida Foodie, check out our other interviews right now on News 6 Plus. You can get the story behind dozens of local restaurants and food trucks, all for free. Just download the new 6 Plus app on your smart TV.